David Shapiro here, Austin real estate developer, investor, and real estate agent. And I'm coming to here to give you a market update. It is January 21st and the Austin market is on fire. So let's talk a little bit about it and exactly what does that mean? How on fire is it? Because we've been hearing that, I feel like, for years. So is it different now than in years past? So I'm going to go through and actually show you the data of what's going on here. So let me start with the inventory chart over the past 4 years. So you can see here's the number of active listings or inventory supply. And here are the number of sales. Sales are strong. They've consistently been strong. You can see they're up a little bit this previous summer from previous years, if you kind of look a straight line across here. And for the first time I've ever seen this, more sales than active listings. Now, I think, we did through December 2020. So that was through a completed month. Obviously, January is not done yet. So some of the stuff you'll see for January is somewhat incomplete. But sometimes it's hard to tell when you're looking at this chart how much of a drop off this is. But look here, this is January 2018 to 2019. It's pretty level. Look at 2020. It was a huge drop off. And you can go back and see a video I did on March 2nd of last year before we knew we were heading into what 2020 ended up being. And I was talking about inventory for January and February of 2020. And I was talking about we were in for a heck of a hot year and a strong seller's market with the low inventory going into 2020. Now we had what ended up being like a peak in January and February, and then mid-March it just fell off a cliff in terms of the number of sales. And Texas opened back up May 1st, and we saw sales creep up. And the chart is pretty crazy how the year ended up finishing with record sales. And so now going into 2021, we can see that the inventory level has now dropped off again, right? Here's 2020, draw a straight line. It's now down, about the same. It looks like it was like a 30% drop last year from 2019 to 2020. I haven't done the actual math on this. So it's crazy. Everybody's reaching out being like, hey, I'm thinking about buying this year. I'm not seeing a lot of homes on the market. What's the deal? This is the deal. Like, people are buying like crazy right now. And yes, seasonality, you can see the seasonality every year, March, April, into the summer, more homes hit the market. But I think there's so many buyers waiting in the wings that it's just going to be crazy multiple offers throughout the year. I wanted to give you some perspective on how does this compare to coming out of the last recession? Well, here's 2007, and you can see inventory going up to a height in 2011. Before it started to come back down. And I remember a big difference from 2011 to 2012, just in my own investing out there. 2011, I was making offers. I was the only one. 2012, all of a sudden, it was multiple offers all over the place. And so you can see that happen right here in 2012, bottomed out in 2013, and then it creeped back up. And we haven't seen these levels. I mean, you can see where we are. We're well below that now. And again, for the first time, we're seeing the sales number is actually higher than the active listings number. Crazy. Now, how does this break down between different property types? Well, condos, we can see here, and it actually doesn't look so bad for condos. It's still, pretty strong seller's market and about consistent with what we've been seeing over the last three years. Well, let's look at single family. So what is that going to mean for single family? Well, it's even worse for single family for buyers. Obviously, it's great for sellers, but even for sellers, it's stressful. You put your house on the market, you have a ton of showings, you got more showings than you can accommodate. I've heard stories of agents and their clients waiting outside in line to go see the home. And sometimes for an hour, just waiting to even get in to see the home. So it can be stressful for sellers too. I've heard 2 stories of sellers receiving over 70 offers. Now, it's maybe more stressful for the agent who's got to field all the calls from those buyer's agents and compile the offers and making sure that they find which are the best offers and even presenting those. So it's a lot of work all around. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's great for sellers. They get more money than they would have gotten in the past. They get a choice of all these different offers, so it's good. But for buyers, it's extremely stressful because can you imagine being one of 70 offers? There's stories of people being on their fifth, sixth offer as a buyer and still not getting a place. And so that's the trouble we come into. People often say, oh, David, you're so lucky to be in real estate in Austin. Yeah, I'm definitely fortunate as a real estate owner. And in many ways, of course, it is going to be really tough this year for a lot of buyers and for a lot of buyers' agents that are trying to help them. I think a lot of agents are going to go out of business this year because they just can't, there's not enough homes for them to be able to sell to their clients and make a good income. They're going to have to go do other things. It's crazy as it sounds in like one of the hottest, best markets in the country, but I think that's the reality when we have such low inventory. And this is single family homes. So you're like, okay, well, I was hoping to buy a single family home this year. That doesn't look good. And if you're thinking sub 1 million, it only gets worse for buyers. So what am I saying? Like, is it still possible to buy a home? Yes, absolutely. We have a couple clients closing this week that, in a market in December that was tough, we were able to find them something. We had a client close, we went under contract in December. It was 850K fourplex in 04, and we were able to win that 100K over asking. We actually weren't even the highest offer, but we were still between good terms and all the other things that we're doing on my team to get people under contract. Out of 14 offers, we were able to secure that one, not even being the highest offer. So as you go into this, make sure that you're talking to your agent about what they're doing to help you in such a competitive market. And, I see people all the time, they want to work with their friend that's new to real estate. You're going to be you're going to be very frustrated if you're not working with an experienced agent that works with a lot of buyers in this market. So that is my suggestion to you, especially, if you're in this single family home, sub 1 million price point. It gets a little bit easier over $1 million, but still there's multiple offers. There's still not a lot of inventory. The good homes are mostly taken. All right, I'll show you a couple other things that I found interesting. Well, let's just go to the stats. This is what the Austin Board of Realtors puts out. The stats I just showed you are more forward-looking. It's like what's going on right now, the number of active listings. This is December 2020 stats. So the median price up a whopping 18% over the previous year. That's crazy for me to imagine. And I think this year is going to be, I don't know if we'll repeat exactly 18%, but we're in for a crazy year. I mean, it's supply and demand. When there's not enough of something and we need to hit some sort of equilibrium, the way to do that is prices go up until less buyers are out there buying. So we're inevitably going to see appreciation this year. If you look through all these stats, I mean, they're all in the positive direction for price appreciation. More closed sales, less active listings, more pending listings, 43% total volume increase. That is absurd. And we're down 0.4 months of inventory. If we already didn't have low enough inventory before at 1.1 months. Reminder, a balanced market is considered 6.5 months of inventory. So we could nearly 10x the amount of inventory, and then we would be to a balanced market, not even a buyer's market yet at that point. And to put this in perspective, places like New York City, I haven't checked in recently, but last time I talked to a colleague of mine there, they were at like 9 months of inventory. So, it could be in the opposite direction. As crazy as it is to think of that, that's where we are. And then just to show you, I mean, I only work basically the city limits in Westlake, but just to show you, because other people on my team do work outside of that, this is the metro area as a whole. So obviously the median sales price is lower outside of the city. Still, we saw great appreciation, although it lagged a little bit. Inventory is actually lower if you take into account the suburbs. So, and you can see the dollar volume here up, and the city accounts for 700 million of the 1.7 billion in the metro area for the month of December. So that's interesting. So forward looking as well, like this is an article that a friend sent me, and they thought of Austin. They don't actually live in Austin. Austin sent it to me. And I thought this was an interesting stat. Page views on Zillow for sale listings by out-of-town searchers surged 87% in November 2020 compared with the year before. pretty crazy. Everybody's talking about Austin. I have investors reaching out to me. It seems like every day saying like, hey, I want to buy an investment property in Austin. Can you help me do that? And of course, we're doing our best to help. But the numbers, again, I'm almost doing this, I felt like as a PSA for those of you that are thinking about buying this year, do not wait. Like, don't think that you're going to just waltz into June and you're going to find your home nice and easily. I'm telling my buyers that, hey, let's start planning now. What does that look like? There's strategies we can put into place 12 months in advance to put somebody in a good position. Plus, like, prices are going to appreciate 5-6% over the next 6 months, in my opinion, maybe more. In some neighborhoods more. I mean, I heard a story of a house that was listed. I think thought they were going to list it at, I think they listed at $575. They thought it would sell for $600. They ended up selling it for $700,000. Like, that, people with interest rates so low, especially with a long-term outlook, they're going to live in this home for the next 10 years. To them, they see the future of what's happening in Austin, and they're not worried about that. This is a chart that I've shared before. I started this on March 20th when I realized, maybe I should keep some stats on what's happening here with the pandemic. And out of my own curiosity, I was tracking side by side the number of cases in Austin, the number of cases in New York City, because that was like the epicenter of what was going on in March and April. And what I'll show you here on the number of active homes then was about 1,800 in Austin. And if you did a comparison of how many are pending versus active, it was a 1-to-1 ratio. And as things heated up and people spent less time outside, we went into lockdowns. You can see it peaked around 1.45. We had about 2,000 homes on the market. At any given time, about 1,400 that were pending. You can see the number of sales. They went from, it was like 200 in a week. This is the 7-day average, down to like 117 at one point. And here's Texas opened back up, and people kind of tiptoed out, and then all of a sudden it was like people were rushing to go buy stuff, and that ratio dropped back to 1 by June, and number of homes at about 2,000. Now the pending was at about 2,000, and you can see as time went on, as we get it like dropped to 0.6, and I was like, whoa, this is getting crazy. And now we're all the way down to 0.4. There are only 700 homes on the market. So this is all residential. So that's single family condos, townhomes, 700 homes in all of the Austin city limits. I think that's pretty crazy. And if you're just curious of where we are with cases, you can kind of see an idea here. So although I haven't been looking at that all that much to confirm that it's accurate. All right, let's look at a couple other things. So if we were saying, all right, I'm a buyer here in Austin, what do we got available? So this is all active homes. There's 308 in the city limits. There's only 308 active. I mean, like, I had to go through, this is single family homes, and like double check them. Like, it doesn't even seem right. If you add in condos and townhomes, 703. So the other thing that's interesting to look at is how long have these been on the market? So if we said like 60 days, how many of these have been on the market more than 60 days out of these 311? 126. So those are ones that are probably overpriced. I mean, even the ones that are on the market 30 days or longer are overpriced. Ones that have been on the market less than 10 days, there's 102. So those are the ones that are probably like, chance they're priced pretty well, that are going to go quick. We could also look at what's gone pending in the last week, things like that. But anyways, bottom line, it's a hot market. If you're thinking about buying, you need to start thinking about this now, about this year. And you need to make sure your agent is experienced in multiple offer situations, so that way you have a good chance. Because when there's 14 offers, you'd say that everybody has a 1 in 14 chance. We track our stats, and we've been winning something about 70 to 80% of offers for our clients. So we're not winning them all, which you could look at that from the other side and being like, oh, we're just offering way too much. We're not even the highest offer in some of these cases, and we're still winning them because the things that I'm doing to put my clients in the best position. So other fun facts, some people don't see this. So I thought, for those of you that don't know, there are $30 million homes in Austin. This one recently hit the market for $30 million on Lake Austin. You can see the lake right there through the living room. Beautiful home. And so these things are out there, and people are buying them. I think this one's still available. But so if you know somebody looking to buy a $30 million home, please, would love a referral. I was asked about my prediction over the next 5 to 10 years. I think Austin real estate prices double in the next 10 years. That's a 7.2% appreciation rate per year. And you saw last year was 18%. So to think that it's going to double in the next 10 years is really feasible. I also had a conversation with a friend who was saying, man, I just really wish we had gone all in like 2011 and bought up everything. It was so obvious that Austin real estate was going to do so well. And, I reminded him, I've been in this real estate market in Austin since early 2011, and it did not feel that way in 2011. There was, on the news, it was like, is this the bottom? Could it go lower? The housing crash still wasn't sure, it wasn't apparent if it was over yet or not. I remember we bought a lot on the east side for like $100,000. And at the time, which by the way, that same lot now would be several $100,000. And at the time, the builder and I were discussing, like, what are we going to do here? We had a buyer that was interested. Do we want to take this buyer, lock in a price today with 12 months to go in the build, or do we want to wait and see what happens? And we both decided where the market was, we'd rather have, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. And we decided to take that deal. By the time that house was built, the new owner of that home had $100,000 in equity. So we missed out on that potential profit. But the point is that we were still unsure of where the market was then. And so to think like, oh, well, if the market's so high right now, we're at all-time high for prices, like that was the case, has been the case in Austin for years. And I think the momentum that we have, like what other cities have a huge Apple campus? Oracle has their headquarters here. Facebook's looking for 1 million square feet. These are all things that have been announced recently. Tesla has the Gigafactory. Joe Rogan moved here. Tim Ferriss lives here. Elon Musk is moving to Texas. Like what other cities have so much going for them and have so much momentum? There's things that weren't possible 10 years ago in Austin. Some people wouldn't move here because we didn't have an Equinox or a Soul Cycle or these different things that people needed to have that lived in New York and San Francisco. They loved those places. Well, those are here now. We have all the amenities of a big city, the 11th largest city in the country, and a lot of the tech jobs that my friends were getting promotions, but they had to move to San Francisco to take the promotion. That's no longer the case. Those jobs are now here. And with remote work, they're really anywhere. And I see a lot of people saying, well, hey, I can work remotely. I've heard Austin's cool. I'm going to go check it out and go work from there for a couple months. And so, by the way, the Airbnb business is still strong. A lot of monthly rentals with people like that. I foresee that the momentum that Austin has picked up is not going to stop, and it's going to continue. And we're going to have potentially San Francisco-like appreciation over the next 10 years. So I feel very strongly. I'm closing on an acre of land today, actually, in the city limits that we're going to develop. And I have a condo I'm purchasing as an investment and some other things. So I feel very strongly in the Austin market and see that what lies ahead for this city is going to be just as exciting as what happened in the last 10 years. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, subscribe to our monthly newsletter so you get notified of updates, which we send out monthly showing you where the market's at. And don't hesitate to reach out to me or somebody on my team if you have questions about the Austin real estate market or you're thinking about buying or selling.